Hey, good morning, basketball fans. Yes, good morning. A special Sunday morning edition of the Upstate Hoops podcast on FingerLakes1.tv, live here inside the FingerLakes1.com studios. It's Sunday, January 29th, 2017. Jim Sinicropi. Also, we have Matt Verkey in studio with us this week, so a lot of stuff to talk about. It was a short week, but that's going to give us some time to maybe look at sectionals, how the sectional points are shaping up. And, of course, another big week on tap across the Wayne Finger Lakes. So, get right to it here. First of all, Verk, welcome back to the studio.
Thanks, Jim. Good to be here.
It's nice to have someone to talk to. I've been sitting up here just talking. I make a joke that I talk for an hour straight about high school basketball. It's like it's a spectacle unto itself. But
it's impressive.
Yes, yeah, a lot of knowledge here on high school basketball. But before we get to it, let me remind you that the Upstate Hoops podcast, all of our coverage of Wayne Finger Lakes High School basketball is brought to you thanks to the support of Generations Bank with locations in Auburn, Farmington, Geneva, Phelps, Seneca Falls, Union Springs, and Waterloo. They're online at mygenbank.com. And by Therascar. Learn more about Therascar's benefits at 5starmedicalcorp.com. And by Dr. Rodney Littlejohn, Orthodontics, delivering over 30 years of smiles with style. So, let's get right to the short week. Midterm exams. Last week I might have even told you I wasn't going to have a show this week, but you know what? I can't stay away. It's too much good stuff to talk about. The Finger Lakes West was in action starting off on Thursday night, and you saw HAC, a resurgent HAC, defeating South Seneca 66-49. They're 5-8 after that win. They went on a 14-4 run in the fourth quarter, led by Jamar Paisley, who had 25 points. And South Seneca was led by Devin Rogers with 23. Honeoye, another resurgent team in the West, beats Naples. And that loss to Naples hurts. I mean, they're trying to get some sectional points in D1 and get up near the top of the bracket. Naples just kind of struggling this year, and they never want to lose, at least recent years, to Honeoye. But Honeoye, like a lot of the bottom feeders in the West, are upsetting some of these teams. And Honeoye's kind of on the rise. Jake Davis had 17 points, 14 big rebounds. John Marble had 17 points and 5 assists. Jake Chapman had 20 points to lead Naples. And then the league leaders, Marcus Whitman, 79-57 win over Romulus. Swirling Berlin Allen had 22 points. Riley McLeod had 14. Big guy Gavin McComiskey had 12. And then Bloomfield defeated Red Jacket 62-58. A much-needed win for Bloomfield. Pat Geithner had 20 points. Bryce Beechler had 16. So that was the action in the West. And Verk, I talk a lot on this show about how the West is just not up to speed with the other leagues. But Marcus Whitman at the top, they've now won 12 in a row. And it's just, Marcus Whitman played Miners earlier this year, and they played Wayne, and those are their 2 losses. But how good, is Marcus Whitman now?
Yeah, I haven't personally seen him play this year, but and they're down in Class C this year. They're typically a B team, and I think they're a C2 team or C1 team this year. So, they can make some noise come sectional time. And like you said, I think it's a team that we don't really pay too much attention to because, in general, the West is kind of down this year. But Whitman's been dominating over there, and they went out and played some, playing a Wayne and Minders, play some quality opponents. They could make some noise come sectional time.
I have to even wonder with Whitman, too, what would happen now if they played Minders and Wayne now. I still think that they'd struggle, but those were easy wins for Wayne and Minders back in the first week of the season. Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. We'll look at their standings. And
what was it last year when they played? Who was it? They gave North Rose Wolcott a great game in sectionals
2 years ago. That great North Rose Wolcott, the first of the 2 great North Rose Wolcott teams. That game went to overtime in Waterloo. So, yeah, they've been there before, and there were guys on this team that were on that team. Really all of them. Donovan and Allen, Berlin Allen, McComiskey was on that team. So Yeah, they do have some sectional experience, without a doubt. Let's jump ahead now to Friday night, and this is where there were some pretty important games, especially in the Finger Lakes East and Wayne County. Mid Lakes beat Palmac 63-49, and speaking of sectionals, there's a lot of movement in the Class B standings right now. Mid Lakes and Palmac are battling near the middle, trying to get a home game in that opening round, and Palmac was way down there like 10-11, and they've been playing better, and they need some points, but Brandon Hawkins and Frankie Saucedo suspended for the game. Not going to go into details exactly why. It was a disciplinary action. It wasn't anything. Brandon Hawkins, we talked to him after the win in Geneva, and he's a good kid. Just something really stupid. But you can't have that out of your senior leader heading down the stretch here. It's been a real tough season for Dan Harris.
Yeah, looking at those standings, Palmac could end up playing Penn Yan in the first round of sectionals, like 11-7 game. Not sure how that all will work out in there. But and then you got Mid Lakes at the 9 right now. So we'll see a lot of Finger Lakes action in that classification.
Yeah, and really the way it was going for Mid Lakes and the way it has been going for Palmac, you would have thought this might be a win Palmac would pick up on the road, but it wasn't even close. And I'm not saying it's just because Brandon Hawkins wasn't there, but this team can't play without Brandon Hawkins. Totally different team. Damian Wright led him with scoring with 18. For Mid Lakes, Bryce Burry had 23 points, 8 assists, and definitely a big win for Mid Lakes. Also on Friday night, the Waterloo Indians really took it to Geneva, 48-35. Derek Sluka, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Ransom Benedict's 12 points, 5 rebounds. Daquan Kingston had 9 rebounds, 7 block shots. And this Waterloo team plays Minders coming up on Finger Lakes One Sports on Tuesday night. And I have to wonder why not bring up Derek Sluka from the start, because they're a better team, obviously.
Yeah, he's done well for them. He's had 3 or 4 20-point-plus games. And several things could go into that, really. Maybe they knew they were going to be down a little bit, let him develop on the JV team, get his confidence up. But due to some, I think, Waterloo's lost a couple players this year. I think out of necessity they bring him up, and it's worked out well. And they've had a favorable schedule, I think, since he's come up, but they're playing much better. I think we'll find out Tuesday night what this Waterloo team's really all about with these kids they got on. But if you look at them, Coach Dinan's done a pretty good job. Big win over Mid Lakes, and now coming back and beat Geneva. The Finger Lakes East is really every night. You can't take nights off. Even last time Minders and Waterloo played boys, it was a game, into the second half. It was, when you kind of look at it, it's a game you think Minders should win by 25 points. But, Waterloo hung with them the whole time, and that was without Sluka. So now you got, both Benedicts and Sluka.
They got another kid in Westfall. He's been getting rebounds.
And Kingston inside, he's not going to give you much offensively, but he blocks shots. He rebounds the ball real well. He knows his role. So, give Coach Dinan a lot of credit and those Waterloo kids for not just folding on the season and really picking up some good wins here lately.
Sure, and everybody goes to sectionals too. Everybody goes. So good to see the Indians playing better. Now, the marquee games on Friday night were featuring the teams at the top of the standings. You had Newark playing Penn Yan, which Penn Yan's not in contention for the league title anymore, but Newark just a game behind Minders. Didn't want to slip up and lose to Palmac because they're hoping that Wayne might win at Minders. Well, Newark beat Penn Yan really bad, 69-34. Brian Sharp had 19. Nate Beard had 18. Dylan Stape had 15 for Penn Yan. So a really convincing win at home for Newark, which was a game that Penn Yan's been playing better. Thought maybe they might pull the upset and take a little pressure off of Minders, but they're still one game back. Now, game of the week, maybe the game of the year. You and I called Verk on Friday night. Wayne at Minders, and Minders comes up with a 49-41 win. The leading scorer was Jake Jones with 11. It was a balanced attack, a low-scoring game with only 49 points again for Minders, and Braden Zenilovic had 17 points for Wayne. And now this is a game we got to talk about a little bit, because first thing you got to understand about Wayne is that they're very good, and the second thing you got to understand is that they're very young. so they didn't have a senior hit the floor. Braden Zenilovic, the junior kid being recruited as a quarterback for football by Purdue, Syracuse, not saying that they've offered him, but they've expressed interest along with other schools like Albany and Cornell and New Hampshire. So obviously a superior athlete. And then they got the 3 sophomores. Coach's son, Billy Thompson, handled the ball most of the game, did a really good job. And Nick Carmichael, a big body for him, had a really good game against Minders. And Logan Blankenberg did not score much. He pulled down some rebounds, but another sophomore. Those 3 kids are sophomores. And Minders, I know, focused on Blankenberg. But, watching these kids, even as sophomores, they didn't really seem like sophomores. Wayne has really got something special brewing. They had won 10 straight before Minders won that game. And so not to overshadow the great win by Minders, which really puts them in full control now in the Finger Lakes East with 3 games left on their league schedule. But Wayne, in A2, they dropped out of the top spot in A2. I think they're 3rd in sectional point standings now in A2, but they could make some noise in A2. But not only this year, but the next 2 years at least are going to be Wayne's going to be tough. Maybe preseason number 1 next year in our power rankings, Verk. But I mean, we sat there courtside and watched that game. And what do you think about? What are your thoughts on Wayne, first of all?
I like him. I mean, I was pretty impressed. I haven't seen him play. I don't think I saw him last year. But, they got these sophomores. But, Coach Thompson's kid's been up as a freshman. I think Blankenberg played somewhat as a freshman last year. The one thing, not only are they young, but they're big. I mean, they're 6'5", 6'3". And Thompson's a very good player, really quick, good ball handler, can shoot it. They're going to be good going forward and this year, and I don't know much about the other teams in Class A. Obviously, Batavia's in there, so they're usually very good. Leadership. They got some tough schools in there, obviously, but they hung with Minders, and Minders has got a lot of experience. And but Wayne, I thought that he did a great job in the second half. Zendelovic scored a ton of points in the second half, and I think they really exposed. They took advantage, which teams haven't this year, of Minders going with the 4 guards. Yeah. Got the ball inside to their other big guy who Mean wasn't guarding, and did a good job with that. But Wayne, they got good shooters, they got good height. They're really a solid team all around, and I could see them making a deep run in sectionals this year.
Yeah, as young as they are.
Yeah, and there's only 11 teams in that class, so they're probably going to get a first round bye, then win a game, and all of a sudden you're in the semis, and who knows what happens from there.
Yeah, and like I said, watching them play against Minders, who had plenty of seniors on the floor, it just didn't seem like sophomores. So good.
Very composed, and like you said, Blankenberg. Talking to Coach Payne before the game, some other guys, he's the best shooter in the league. They said unlimited range, and Minders played some junk defense. They did a little boxing one on him, some different defenses, and really just denied him anywhere. And he didn't get a clean look all night, which, I think I mentioned on the webcast, he needs to be able to develop his game from there and put the ball on the floor and take it in a little bit. And, once he's able to do that, he's going to be a real force to be reckoned with in the Finger Lakes.
So that's Wayne. Now let's talk about Minders. This was another big test for Minders, and the big news in Seneca Falls was Nick Ciotti stepped away from the head coaching duties. Now Pat Prain is the head coach at Minders, and with Nick, first of all, Nick really did a really good job as coach under a lot of being here in Seneca Falls. We always dissect everything about Minders, and I'm sure it's like that in some other towns too, but here in Seneca Falls with that basketball program, it really is. So but Nick might go down as like one of the winningest coaches in Minders history, with winning percentage wise.
Yeah, he's had some great years, and Nick puts in the work. They practice 6 days a week. He scouts a lot. Nick definitely was an asset to the Minders basketball program, and he'll be missed. Just never got that big win, got to the sectional final, that he didn't make a sectional final, and had some chances. But, last year, they were right there. and sometimes kids gotta make plays for you. But Nick did a great job, and like I said, he's gonna be missed by the program. Luckily, Coach Prain's been with this team for a couple years.
And these kids forever, like his AAU coach.
Yeah, he helps out. Jerry Anderson runs the AAU program, and several of those juniors play on it. And Coach Prain helped them all summer, so he knows the kids. He's had a relationship with them for a few years, and it's a tough thing stepping in mid-season, and even a little past midway season. But luckily, he's been around the kids. He's been around the program. I think it was a pretty smooth transition. Getting that. He's got some big wins already. Geneva, Mid Lakes, now Wayne. Coached the game last year, so I think he's settling in, and taking over the head coaching job it's a big duty. Obviously, call timeout. Now you're the one who's got to draw up the play or make that decision who's going in the game. A little different than being the assistant, but
and deal with all the issues with parents and playing time and all that stuff. That's a problem with. I don't want to say it's a problem. It's just it's a reality with Minders because they're so deep and so many good kids. And so when you're a parent of a kid who was like a stud on the JV team the year before, and it's tough. It's not easy for any coach, but particularly at Minders because of their depth, I think. But do you notice anything different that Coach Prain has done?
I would say it looked like they're playing a little bit more man, and they played a little bit more of a junk defense, I thought, going with that box and one. I know they played a lot 2-3 under Nick, and he would play some man too, but I think Coach Prain got him out into the man a little bit more. But other than that, not really. They still weren't knocking down open threes like I think they should, but you can't blame, obviously Coach has nothing to do with that.
Get them the open shot, they got to make it.
But, I thought Minders, they jumped out to an early lead in that game, and then Wayne kind of fought back. And, Brett Anderson, who's kind of been slumping a little bit, hit a big three for him. Jake Jones hit a big three down the end. So, Minders has all the tools, and just sometimes, it's a funny team. Some nights, some of those kids are, into it and ready to go, and other nights it looks like they're, if things don't go well early for them, sometimes they struggle a little bit. But, they're talented. When you're bringing a kid like, Quentin Battle off the bench, I think he starts for any other team in the league. Hunter Haas, who gave him some great minutes, and Aiden Trout, who we haven't seen all year, came in and gave him some great minutes. They got some kids on that bench who can play, and I was glad to see Aiden and Hunter and some of those other kids get in there and give them great minutes.
Yeah, second with that Minders team, a second big guy. Instead of going four guards and Jake Mean, a lot of times they were putting Aiden Trout in there, and Hunter Haas a lot. Hunter still might grow a little bit. But I still consider him like a power forward type of player. So.
Yeah, he's good. He can play he's like a stretch four, I would say. He can shoot the three. He's got good post moves. One thing I really like about him, he seems like he's always composed. He doesn't get too high or too low. Right. Good foul shooter. He's going to be he'll be a very good player for him moving forward.
So we'll take a look at the sectional breakdown in a moment here. Let me first run through the final set of games. On Friday night in Wayne County. Gananda with a 75-60 win over North Rose Wolcott. Jaden Castracini with 22. Justin Chamberlain with 18 is the Blue Panthers roll. Tyler Norris, really starting to wind down what's been a phenomenal high school career. Had 33 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. He played in 2 sectional finals. Don't think they're going to get back there this year. But still, kudos to Tyler Norris for having the type of season he's having now, and somebody you've seen play quite a bit, and it's gonna, I really, of all the guys that we've covered, I really have a lot of respect for the way Tyler Norris is as a kid and as a person, and certainly as a basketball player. He's going to be playing somewhere next year.
If he's got good size at the guard spot. He shoots the ball well. And, my few interactions with him, he's a super kid. Nothing but good things to say about Tyler. Great career. Obviously, they're, losing what they lost last year. I think he
and their head coach.
Yeah, and their head coach. So a big adjustment for him this year. But, it looks like he's handled it pretty well. He's got the ultimate green light, I would imagine, over there in North Rose this year. But, I'm sure he'd like to have a few more wins.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But and they actually did get off to a pretty good start to the season, but I think they've lost several in a row at this point. little surprising result here is East Rochester stepped out of the league and played Virtus. They were on the road, and Virtus with a 70-61 win. Casey Michael had 21, Matt Cicero had 12, and I didn't see Shamar Caraway in the box score. A lot of times, we don't know why a kid might not. I don't know if Caraway played in that game or not. Usually when he plays, you see him in there in the box score scoring, one of their leading scorers. And when he hasn't played, they've lost. And when he has played, they've beaten like poor Lions. He was available for them both of those Lions games, and they beat Lions twice. So, what that loss means to ER, not too much. Chance to pick up some sectional points. They're still near the top of the standings in their class. And it doesn't hurt them in the league standings, but they're also, 2 games behind Clyde, I think, along with Lions right now. But it was just kind of a surprising loss because most other Wayne Finger Lakes teams, and just about everybody's played Virtus at some point this year. They've all handled them.
Yeah, they do have some wins. They're 8-7, and they play a really independent schedule, it looks like. I don't know much about Virtus, where they came from, but I know they've struggled in the past. But this year, they do have some wins, and beating ER is a huge win for them. They're in Class C1, it looks like. Don't know a lot about them. They're in the they're a private parochial school. Other than that, I don't know a whole lot about them. But yeah, kind of a surprising result.
Yeah. Again, not of much consequence overall, other than just saying, geez, I would think the ER would have handled them. 3 more games. Clyde beat Williamson 75-44. Derek Chance had 15 points. Marcus Chance had 14 points. Clyde keeps rolling in Wayne County. Sodus on the road against Merriam, 73-47 win for Sodus. Puts them 1 game above 500 at 8-7. Greg Coe had 16 points. Jared Wren had 16 points. And then Lions hosted Red Creek and comes out with a 16-point victory, 67-51. 4 players in double figures for Zach Young's Lions. Devin Franklin had 10 rebounds. Nick Kehoe had 10 rebounds. And Nick Klein, another great player whose career is winding down now, had 17 points. And then last night, on Saturday night, Waterloo in action again, hosting South Seneca. And they get a nice 64-39 win. Derek Saluka, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Jared Benedict's 15 points. Jackson Westfall, another JV call-up, 5 points, 10 rebounds. Marshall Warden had 18 points and 4 rebounds for South Seneca. So, there you have it in terms of the action here in a short week. And let's take a look now at some of the standings. Start with the East. And there you have the Miners Blue Devils, that 1-game lead over Newark, and now they've extended their lead to 2.5 games over Wayne. That 1 extra game in the loss column Wayne could make up. But if Miners doesn't stumble, they're going to have their first Finger Lakes East title in several years after Newark's had a stranglehold on that championship in recent memory. Now, Miners plays Waterloo, Palmac, both at home, and then on the road at Mid Lakes. And, geez, what do you think, Verk?
I like their chances to finish out, obviously, on paper, they're playing 3 teams that are below 500 in both the league and overall. So, I like our Mid Lakes is 7-7, but, I like Miners' chances. But, all those teams are capable teams. We've talked about Mid Lakes. We always refer back to they gave Newark a scare last year in sectionals.
Yeah.
They got some nice pieces, and if they all show up on the same night, those talking about the Mid Lakes players, they can be a tough out for any team.
And we don't give Miners enough credit, I think, for their defense. We focus on the fact that they don't score, but they win all the games that they score under 50, so it means their defense is good. But I think if you're Mid Lakes, if you can score 50 points, you might win. You might be able to beat any of these teams. And if you're Waterloo, playing better, you are looking ahead to sectionals. But if there's one last impact you can have on this season, it would be to upset Miners and cost them the sole Finger Lakes East title for your rival. So I think that's what Coach Dinan and his squad will have on their mind when they come to Arthur L. Baker Gymnasium on Tuesday night.
Senior night, too, for the boys and girls.
Yeah, and we'll be there for Finger Lakes 1. Love being in the gym for the senior nights. It's should be a lot of fun. And on the girls' end of things, too, you got the girls trying to avenge their loss earlier this year to Waterloo. So that should be...
And that's the only league loss from the Miners girls is to Waterloo, who's struggling this year. They're down in the bottom part of that Finger Lakes East girls. So I'm sure the Miners girls will be looking for a little revenge.
So let's kick it over now to the West and take a look at the standings in the West. And it's just all Marcus Whitman, 5-game lead on Bloomfield, 5.5 on Naples, Dundee, and Honeoye. Now, last year there was a 3-way tie for the league title, but this year it's over. Marcus Whitman's going to win the West, and deservedly so. Unselfish, share the ball, can shoot threes, can score inside. Really fun team to watch. Might have more assists per game as a team than any team in the Wayne Finger Lakes, and a team that we're going to have a fun time keeping an eye on, hopefully, in the postseason. But you look at this Finger Lakes West, and after Marcus Whitman, I can say that it's balanced and everything, but it's just not very good.
Yeah, there's not a lot of when those schools have stepped outside of the West. I think was it Bloomfield or Honeoye that played Lions?
Bloomfield played Lions.
Lions ran them off the court.
Yeah.
Obviously Lions is a good team, but in general, we've talked about it. Outside of Whitman, I don't really see any of these teams advancing too far in sectionals, but you never know. Dundee,
Naples is down indeed, so is Dundee.
Naples, Dundee, Bloomfield, Honeoye. We've seen them have some really, really good teams over the past few years, and just a little down this year.
And I think that what really sets it off is when you look at this thing, you look at their overall, the second place team in the West is 1 game under 500. So it's, and a lot of them are beating up on each other. Bloomfield lost to Romulus, It's Honeoye, as we mentioned, beat Naples this week. HAC's won 4 league games, where in the past few years they've won, 0 or 1. Red Jacket, we thought was going to be better. They're 4-7 in the league. They're just kind of beating up on each other, and Marcus Whitman just keeps beating everybody. So great season underway for the Wildcats out there in Rushville. Now pop it over to Wayne County, always one of the most entertaining leagues in Section 5, I think. And, man, if Lions could just beat East Rochester, one of those 2 games, they'd be right there in striking distance with Clyde. They play Thursday night. You and I are calling it, Verk, at the Lions Community Center. It's not going to be for the league title, but it is going to pull Lions within 1 game if Clyde should falter. They had a nice win recently against Gananda, which was a team we thought might be able to upset them. But right now it's all Clyde, and I think Clyde has proven to be the class of Wayne County. But, you look at those 2 teams, Clyde and Lions is 12-3. Those 2 losses come into ER, obviously a bad matchup for Lions. Unfortunately, they're in the same sectional classification, so Lions is going to have to figure out ER if unless somebody upsets them.
And right now that's a 1-4 matchup in sectionals if things hold. But you always like the age-old adage is that tough to beat the same team 3 times. I still like that should be a good game. And you never know. East Rochester's kind of been like night and day. So you see them. They beat Lions twice, but then they have some other losses in the league. They're kind of mind-boggling. But a talented team, and we might see them play for a 3rd time this year come sectionals.
Yes.
Another team that is interesting in there to me is Sodas.
Right.
They beat Clyde, and they played Wayne to a 5-point game. A team that's, what are they, 6-5 in Wayne County, 8-7 overall. And when I saw that Wayne result, I give Sodas a lot of respect because we know how good Wayne can be and how good Wayne is, and Sodas hung right with them.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference in Wayne County this year is like the Gananda and Sodas stepping up there and being able to. Well, in Sodas' case, they beat Clyde. They handed them their 1 league loss. So. But, last year it was Red Creek and North Rose. Wayne's were really good. It's just, Williamson a little bit better this year. Marion, obviously, not very good, but Clyde head and tails above everybody else, I think, clearly. Lions might have something to say about that Thursday night. So,
and Clyde's really headed for they're in C3, and right now they're the 3 seed, but Perry's in there. Perry is 15-0, so that would be a from talking to some other coaches, Perry's very good. So hopefully we'll get to see a Clyde Perry matchup this year.
Yeah, they do have a tough class, I think. But they've tested themselves early on in the season, played some tough games in December. Tim Jackson definitely got sectional title on his mind right now. So before we get to looking at some of those sectional stands, I wanted to play our post-game interview with the new Minders head coach, Pat Prain, after the Wayne win. He sat down with Verk and I on the Dr. Rod Littlejohn Smiles with Style post-game. And let's play that back for you right now. It was an interesting conversation after a big win for Coach Prain.
And welcome back inside Arthur L. Baker Gymnasium in Seneca Falls, where once again your final score, Minders 49, Wayne 41. It's the Dr. Rod Littlejohn Smiles with Style post-game show. And normally, Verk, we get our player of the game, student athlete, on the post-game show, but we've done so many Minders games, we've virtually talked to them all. So we figured we'd get new Minders head coach, Pat Prain, fresh off his 4th victory, undefeated.
Thanks, Jim. I'm a rookie over here.
So congratulations on the win, and this was a big one. I mean, now you guys got a 2-game lead in the Finger Lakes East, and got to be proud of your seniors down the stretch there.
Big time. I mean, that was a complete team win. How about Aiden Trout coming in the first half?
Yep.
4 big points. Throwing that body around. I mean, he's a bruiser, and he played his role to a T today. Everybody played well.
We were talking. It wasn't a offensive explosion by any means, but I give you credit in that you got out to the early lead, then they fought back. I don't know if you know or not, but you scored 3 points in the third quarter, which is when you guys usually play better. Throughout the year.
Yeah.
So it was a game where kind of the kids could have kind of got a little down on themselves, but I think they kept it alive. And again, wide open threes weren't falling. Finally, I think Brett Anderson hit a big one. Jake Jones hit a big one late.
Yep.
And I was saying a couple more of those threes fell down. This is a 15-point game, and you're getting wide open looks. I thought bringing Mean up to the foul line kind of opened things up a little bit more for you. He made some good decisions in there, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, all year we've been pretty much a 4-guard offense, and we made at halftime it was pretty clear we had to go with 2 bigs to really get the ball into the middle. It's got to touch Jake Mean's hands. One way or another, the ball's got to go through him, and a lot of good things happened. And we haven't been shooting well for several games. It's kind of frustrating. I mean, I think we do have some good offensive sets. We look for each other, almost too unselfish at sometimes. But I just knew one of these nights all these shots are going to fall, and I didn't expect to be in the 40s again. I was kind of hoping. For a big game.
We haven't talked about Hunter Haas. I thought gave you some great minutes again.
Great minutes.
Because I didn't realize it tonight, but Wayne's 6'5", 6'3", 6'4". They're big down there. Yeah. And they weren't doing it early, but they started going to Zanilovic when they had Brett Anderson guard. That's a mismatch, obviously, and he started hurting you. Come in with another big, and I thought, Hunter and Aiden both did a nice job of giving you some good minutes. Because, we've talked a lot, and, at some point you're going to need the second big, I think, at times. And Aiden, for, not getting a lot of time this year, coming right away, got an offensive rebound, did a nice pick and roll.
4 points in the first half, second quarter.
Yeah.
Did a great job.
Yeah, it's good. I'm proud of the boys, and we've been prepping all week for this game, and seeing people around town all talking about the Wayne game. So I'm glad we could deliver.
Yeah, here comes the dunk by Jake Mean in the first half. Some highlights from the game. So you guys are now 2 games up, and we don't know the result of the Newark Penn Yan game from tonight, but assuming Newark won, you're now 2 games clear. Or no, 1 game clear in Newark, 2 games clear of Wayne. You got Waterloo coming up here next Tuesday night, Palmac at home, and then on the road at Mid Lakes. What do you got to do to keep these guys focused and really bring home the soul? You have a chance to win the Finger Lakes East all alone, which is a pretty big accomplishment. Minders being the smallest school in the league according to classification.
Well, I mean, it's a tribute to these kids and their heart. We got our game last week in Geneva being down 11 at halftime. I mean, we went in at halftime and said, kids, you just got punched in the jaw. So now you got to get up and get yourself back together and fight back. And so that's exactly what we did. We got a bunch of fighters. We got some seniors. We got outstanding juniors. I mean, we're deep. And, any given night, somebody else steps up and they just keep winning. So winners find a way to win. I said it about 1,000 times over the last, 2 seasons with Minders, but we just keep pulling it out.
That's a good point, though. We focus on the struggles to score, but they're winning. And if the offense, when the offense kicks in, this team could really be, tough for anyone to beat.
I keep waiting for that night to happen. I keep waiting for that. I thought it was tonight. We shot well this week. We got a lot of shots off in practice this week, and I thought it was, but hey,
it'll come.
Yeah, you only have to outscore all you got to do is you can win 2-0, right?
Sure.
And so it's not very flashy, but a win's a win, and I'll take it.
Well, let me run through the scoring real quick. For Wayne, it was Braden Zanilovic with 17 points, 13 of them in the second half to lead all scorers. And Billy Thompson with 5, Nick Carmichael with 12, Logan Holgado with 3, and Logan Blankenberg with 2. Hey. Okay, continue on now with the scoring. For Minders, Jake Jones with 11, a balanced attack for the Blue Devils. Jake Mean with 8, Quentin Battle with 8, 6 apiece for Brett Anderson, Devin Anderson, and Hunter Haas, and 4 points for Aiden Trout. Your final score 49-41.
And you don't win too many games when your leading scorer has 11. But,
that's right.
Minders will take it. And I thought you guys did a nice job on Blankenberg, obviously. A couple junk defenses thrown at him. He didn't really get a clean look all night. And, that's a credit to you guys and the guys guarding him.
Yeah, I mean, clearly that was a focus this week. And we did a good job. But, I mean, this Wayne team is scary. And
yeah.
They're young and they're dangerous, right? So I was real nervous. I was real nervous about playing them in man because they run some good sets. Everybody moves. They great ball screens. So
if you didn't get them this year, next year wasn't going to be any easier because they're all coming back. So
exactly.
It should be a fun game for the next several years. But it's we'll be back on the air for Finger Lakes One Sports right back here at Arthur L. Baker on Tuesday night for a girls-boys doubleheader. Waterloo Minders. The Waterloo girls beat the Minders girls last time around, so Minders will be looking for revenge. And next Thursday night, Verk, you and I are back in the booth for Lions Clyde at the Lions Community Center. That should be a big one. And, any parting shots or final thoughts, Verk?
No, just another gritty win for Minders. I like the way that they responded. You come off a 3-point third quarter, and they come back in the fourth and pull out the game comfortably. And they handled the press pretty well, except that one that went off Quentin's knee there that he mishandled a little bit. But, a good gritty win. And same could be said for Wayne. Wayne coming a long ways coming here. Played a pretty solid game, and I look forward for good things from Wayne moving forward as well.
As I know, they've never lost under Prain.
That's right.
You talk about next year. I might just retire while I'm on top of my game.
Sure. So, all right, for our whole Finger Lakes One sports team, Jeremy Hunt on the main camera, raucous Ryan Sowards on camera 2, our producer Jason Hunt, my broadcast partner Matt Verkey, Minders head coach Pat Prain. I'm Jim Sinicropi. Thanks for being with us, and have a great weekend.
So, Pat, he was pretty happy there after that win.
Yeah, he's Pat. We've known. I grew up with Pat. He obviously played with me throughout my adolescent career into high school, and really happy for him that things are working out well for him, and he takes it serious. He puts a lot of time in, so he deserves. That was a big win for the program. So
a lot of pressure. You take over a team that's in first place and is, how many games they win this year so far? 12, 13, 14 games. I mean, they've won a lot, and I think your biggest fear when stepping in as a new coach mid-season is that you go on like a 2-game losing streak.
Sure.
And that Wayne team is scary, and I'm sure he felt a lot of relief after, taking home that win.
Yeah, and I think as long as you keep winning, it alleviates a lot of other stuff that goes on. You can say, hey, we're winning, screw everything else. But, congratulations to Minders and to Coach Praying, off to a great start.
So let's take a look now at some of these sectional standings. We'll start right up in A2. And a couple Wayne Finger Lakes teams, all the Wayne Finger Lakes teams in these graphics here will be highlighted in yellow. And, probably not going to be a run by Geneva this year, but Wayne, a serious contender for a sectional title in A2, which is not an easy thing. I think A2 as a whole, a little bit down, but, Batavia Leadership Academy are going to be a couple tough teams for Wayne to overcome, and they're going to have to probably beat both of them on the way if they're going to win a sectional title.
Yeah, it looks like the way things are going to play out. Wayne will get a first round bye, and so they're in the quarters already, and and then who knows who they'll play? They might see Geneva. They could see a couple of those schools, and I like their chances there. Then you get into Leadership, who we've seen over the years, usually pretty solid, and Batavia is always solid, obviously coming out of Class A2. So. I like Wayne's chance. One thing they have is they got good height, they got good ball handling, they're well coached. They got the ingredients to, maybe they might not be the most talented team in that class, but they got a lot of nice pieces. So I really, and I know they got a lot of these guys back, but obviously they're looking forward to making a good run this year.
Now let's go to the class that we're most interested in. Well, I shouldn't say most interested in, but there certainly is a lot of Wayne Finger Lakes flavor in Class B, and there's no doubt we're going to see some inner Finger Lakes East matchups as these brackets get announced and we play through. But Minders, Newark, and Early College, and Livonia. Look, we've been kind of discounting maybe Livonia at 10-3, and even Wellsville with their losses to Graduation. You got to give credit to that program. 2 straight sectional titles, and now after losing their 4-year senior stud Liam Ebert and Cooper, what was his name? Cooper Bradley? No, that's an actor.
I don't remember.
Cooper, the kid that made the shot that beat Minders last year in the semis. They're right back up there in the upper half of the Class B bracket. But I think as Finger Lakes East fans were most concerned about that Early College game with Harrell and Holt. Really athletic Early College team, experienced Early College team coming off a sectional title last year in one of the C classifications. They beat East Rochester. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a fun Class B tournament without a doubt. And even Penn Yan and Mid Lakes up there, 7-8 now, is battling it out to try to remain in the upper half. But what's your take on Class B, Verk?
It's an interesting class. And, obviously living in Seneca Falls here, you look at it from a Minders perspective, I think they got to be happy with the way this is setting up, because it looks like 1 through 4 are going to hold. Minders, you hate to get ahead of yourself, but they look like a lock for the 1 seed. They have 67 points.
Yeah, they are.
Early College has 41, so I'm not, obviously that's going to change a little bit, but they win 2 out of 3 down the stretch here, or even 1 out of 3, which I like their chances to win all 3 of them. I think they're going to get that number 1 seed, and then they avoid Early College and Newark until the final if things hold true.
Yep.
Like you said, not to downplay Livonia, but I think in general, if you ask any coach who they'd rather play between those 3, they'd take Livonia. I would have to guess. So it's setting up. They might see the way this is. They might see Mid Lakes in the quarters, which is another team that they still got to play them again in the regular season. But some talented kids with Burry.
And Penn Yan's giving them trouble too.
Yeah, Penn Yan, they were I think tied at halftime, or maybe even losing at halftime, going down to Penn Yan. They got Penn Yan coming up here. I think next Friday maybe, and. But I like the way it plays out. And, and even you got Palmac, Waterloo, they might see Newark in there. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out.
Another interesting thing there is you'll see that Newark has 1 more point than Early College, 42-41, but the average is what they're going by based on like the total. Newark has another game under their belt. So that's Newark's going to want to try to get that 2 seed if they can.
Yeah, it will matter for some matchups as obviously they're still going to match up with Early Cows if they both win in the quarters, but yeah, it could make a difference. You never know. So I'm sure I like Newark's chances to finish out the season as well. That they're done with Minders and Wayne, so I like them to finish strong too in the Finger Lakes East.
And that final in Class B back in the Blue Cross Arena on a Monday night, so there'll be a doubleheader, the Class B and then the Class AA final. Kind of weird, but they'll be in the Blue Cross Arena, and like last year, we can keep our fingers crossed and maybe see an all Finger Lakes East final. So, and then we go down to Class C1, C2, and C3. Now, these teams will be playing, the finals will be at Rush Henrietta on a Friday night, and it'll be a triple header. And it could be another evening with a lot of Wayne Finger Lakes flavor. C1, we talked about Marcus Whitman's great season, and we talked about Gananda and Sodus being a force in Wayne County this year. All those three teams, legitimate shots to make a run. But, boy, man, North Star Christian is tough draw in C1.
Yeah, they're a private school, and I believe they won C3 last year maybe.
Yeah,
and
going away.
They moved them up to C1. They have the Brown kid who's, I think he put up 50-something points in the game this year. He was MVP of sectionals last year as a freshman. This year he's a sophomore. So a tough draw, but, looking at that, it's I like Sodas to make a run in that class, which I think they're capable of. I think everybody wants to avoid North Star at this point,
sure.
and then give it a shot.
And as far as Whitman goes, they will avoid North Star until the finals if they can, and they've got a lock on that second seed at this point, and they're probably not going to overtake North Star for the one either. But they do have the luxury of being on the opposite side of the bracket.
And you see how Whitman's got a similar record to North Star, but they play all small schools, so they don't get as many points.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see when Whitman does have to, for example, maybe play Leroy, or Addison in a semifinal game, or even Gananda Sodus. You get a Finger Lakes West Wayne County matchup like that in the semifinals. It's going to be a test for Marcus Whitman that I don't think they've had in quite a while. And they've racked up this 12-game winning streak, beating teams in the West, where the second-place team in the West right now is Bloomfield. They're 9th in Class C1 with a 7-8 record. So, keeping our eyes certainly on Whitman, and then Gananda and Soda's positioned well to also make a run. In C2, two Wayne County teams, Lions quietly, number one seed. I mean, when I say quietly, we usually really talk a lot about Lions when they have a good team. This year they've got a 12-3 record, and they've been a little bit flying under the radar, but number one in C2, and then the team that handed them two of their three losses, East Rochester, 4th. And then some good teams like Pembroke and Calmung and Alexander, right down to like Avon and Geneseo. I mean, this is a pretty balanced, difficult C2 class for Lions, who is looking to get back to a place where they're pretty comfortable in the sectional finals.
Yeah, I haven't followed some of these the Geneseos, the Letchworth, the Avons as closely as I have in years past, but I believe I saw Geneseo gave Perry a really good game at some point in the last 2 weeks. Which if you can play with Perry, I think you can play with anybody. So that might be a tough draw for Lions if things hold. If they're the 1 and Geneseo ends up to 8 and they meet. And then, obviously they could play ER again. We saw a great Lions-Calmum game 2 years ago where I think that was up in Canandaigua when the Lions ran a couple nice sets and got to win. Calmum, one thing I took away, I thought they were very well coached. And, obviously they got a lot of different players now. But
there's a state playing game, the Calmum game, yeah.
And, Calmum's, Calmum will be a factor. ER, they play that matchup zone. So, especially for teams who don't see that a whole lot, they're always a intimidating force with the zone and their quickness that they have. So it should be interesting.
Now in C3, Clyde has slid a little bit down the standings. Perry just dominant right now at 15-0. And you feel kind of, I don't know if you say feel bad for Clyde, but a little unlucky just in how the classifications fall out. They're in C3 this year. If they were in C2 with Lions and East Rochester and that whole group of team, I think they might have a better chance to win a sectional title than they do having to contend with Perry.
Yeah, a lot of it's always where teams fall and who's good that certain year. I still like Clyde's chances in this classification. Obviously Perry's pretty strong, but it's tough to judge. Not seeing the other leagues, tough to judge which league might be a little better than the other one. Traditionally Wayne County Finger Lakes are very, very good leagues, and we've got a lot of Section 5 sectional winners that come out of both those leagues. So, I still like Clyde's chances, but some obviously, if they do end up playing Perry or Cuba Rushford, will be a great match for them. One thing with Clyde, they got great guards.
Right.
With Derek Chance, he's been around forever and he's only a junior. He's a difference maker. I thought when Lions, we did the Lions Clyde game, obviously Lions was playing without one of their point guard, but I thought Chance was the difference in that game.
And then D1, a lot more Wayne Finger Lakes teams, all Finger Lakes West teams actually in D1 this year, but don't want to turn this into a West bashing show, but it's tough to give too much hope for Dundee, Honeoye, or Naples, or even HAC here when they got to beat teams like York or Finney or Mount Morris.
Yeah, again, this is one bracket where I don't know too much about any of these teams other than the West teams who have struggled a little bit this year outside of their league. So, but you know what? These other schools are all small, and maybe they're down a little bit this year too. So who knows? Maybe a Honeoye or Naples will get hot and make a little run here.
And then in D2, we just have one Wayne Finger Lakes team. That's Romulus, who's on the upswing. Joe Peisnack has them winning more games than they did last year, but probably not going to hold our breath to see Romulus make a run and have to face an Avoca or a Prattsburg. So that's a look through all the sectional classes involving the Wayne Finger Lakes teams. And before we get to our power rankings, let's take a look at the week ahead. Monday night, you have 3 games involving Finger Lakes West teams. All of not much consequence except for some sectional points. Naples could really use that win against Dansville to move up from 9 in sectional point standings. Tuesday night, though, full night, Penn Yan at Wayne. An opportunity for Penn Yan to get some punch-needed sectional points, as is with Mid-Lakes. Those two teams, B teams playing A2 teams. Opportunity, guys are battling it out, as we just showed you in B, sectional point standings. And, of course, Wayne, the sectional point standings, very important to them right now, heading down the stretch. Newark goes at Pelmac. Pelmac will be without Frankie Saucedo and Brandon Hawkins, so you'd assume Newark would win there. And then the test comes down for Minders, just if they can win out and secure that Finger Lakes East title. They got Waterloo on Tuesday night. You can watch it on FL1 Sports. North Star Christian plays Bloomfield, so we'll get a look at North Star. Gananda at Virtus, East Rochester at Red Creek, and Wayne County action. Lions, a tough game at Sodus.
Yeah, I think that's, when I was looking at that, I think that's the most interesting game of the night for me, just with the way, Sodus has some capable players, so that should be an interesting game. And
Lions needs it, of course, just to keep pace with Clyde. They play them on Thursday night. And Waterloo Minders on there twice for some reason. North Rose, Wolcott, Williamson, Marion at Clyde should be an easy win for Clyde there. And then we move forward through the week. On Wednesday night, Finger Lakes West action, Dundee, Naples, Honeoye, South Seneca. HAC looking to pull an upset at Marcus Whitman. Marcus Whitman's got the lock on that league title, but certainly HAC would love to knock him off. Thursday night, Sodus at East Rochester, so another chance for tough week for Sodus, but an opportunity for Sodus this week to prove that they belong in the power rankings where they debuted last week. Gananda at Williamson, North Rose at Marion, and then there it is, Clyde Lions. It's at the community center, Verk, and this is Clyde Lions is my favorite game of the year. I always try to get both of them on our schedule for webcasts, and it's going to be a great atmosphere in the community center on Thursday night.
Yeah, Lions played the first game without Justice, and so obviously this will be a great matchup. Look for a little more competitive game. The first game, Lions did some nice things, they didn't finish real well, I thought. And some of their younger kids now got some more games under their belt. So I look for Lions. I look for that to be a great game.
Yeah, really excited about that.
And even going back to Lions Sodas, you got Coach Young's gonna have to keep his kids from looking past Sodas, obviously, to a big game coming up on Thursday.
Sure, and I'm sure he'll remind his players that team beat Clyde, so don't look ahead to Clyde when you got a team in front of you that beat Clyde this year. Friday night, typically a big night for the Finger Lakes East, and this is no different. Minders at Penn Yan, a big test for the Blue Devils again as they try to get through the end of the regular season. Waterloo at Newark, Geneva at Pelmac, Wayne at Mid-Lakes, and then Naples plays Romulus, South Seneca plays Bloomfield, and then on Saturday, Leadership Academy at Pelmac. I'm sure when Coach Dan Harris scheduled that was a preparatory type of game for sectionals, and Pelmac is tough a season as they've had, still has the personnel to make a run if they can pull it together, get everybody back on the court.
Yeah, and you can kind of get a feel for Wayne, what leadership's all about, based on that Paul Mack result a little bit, possibly.
Sure. Gananda at Mid-Lakes, that's a great crossover game. I think that's a pretty evenly matched game. Be interesting to see Enrique Mossman and Bryce Burry square off. HAC at Dundee, North Rose Wolcott at Williamson. As we start to wind it down here in the regular season. And what do we got here? About 4 minutes left, so we're quickly going to have to get through our power rankings in Girls Super 6. Let's start with the Girls Super 6, as there it is for this week. South Seneca maintains the top spot. Miners up to 2. I got to apologize to fans out there. Girls are tougher for us, and when we kind of tabulated the Super 6, we weren't really aware of a loss that Gananda had suffered. But they've dropped down to 4. Penn Yan girls strong in the East at 3. Red Creek under really playing well at 5th, and Bloomfield girls at 6. And of those teams, on the girls' end of things, I think all those teams are sectional contenders.
Yeah, I haven't really paid too much attention to the Wayne County girls. So, with Gananda, Red Creek, don't know much about them. But, even a team like Geneva, I think would probably be, I would have to guess, get Red Creek, Gananda, or, just based on their fit. I watched that Minders Geneva girls game. It was a great game. Geneva young, athletic.
It's the thing with these rankings, if you were going to go that way, they would all be Finger Lakes East teams in South Seneca probably.
Correct. But Minders, I think I give Minders a lot of credit this year, not really knowing what they're going to have this year with some key losses from last year's team, but they've really come together, done a nice run here. Obviously, Waterloo Tuesday for Minders girls, who gave them their only league loss, and then 2 Penn Yan Friday. So if Minders can sweep this week, they'll have the League One. And it's been a little while since Minders has won the girls' league. They put up some sectional titles, but it's been a while since they've got a league title under their belt. Yeah. And South Seneca keeps rolling along up at the top spot.
So we got about 60 seconds here. Here's the boys' power rankings. Not much has changed here. Even with the win, Wayne holds on to 2, Newark 3, Clyde 4, Whitman holds steady at 5. Then you got East Rochester, Lions, Gananda, Sodas, and Penn Yan flip-flop, I think, from last week at 9 and 10. There's your boys' power rankings. Want to quickly remind you that this week on Tuesday night, we'll be in Seneca Falls for a boys-girls doubleheader. Dave Barnett, Kevin Korzaneski have the call starting at 6 o'clock. Senior night for Minders should be an awesome night of basketball. Hope you can join us there. And then on Thursday night, one of the best games of the year, the Route 31 showdown, Pitt and Clyde versus Lions. Verk and I will have the call at the Lions Community Center, something a little different there. I kind of wish it was at the Atwood, but this will be something different and should be fun to see what kind of crowd turns out for the much bigger venue and bigger court at the Community Center.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. It'll be our first game ever. I think you did a roller derby from the Lions Community Center.
We did. I didn't personally, but Finger Lakes 1 did, yeah.
So not Finger Lakes 1 first time in the Community Center, but it would be the first time doing a basketball game from there, so that should be fun.
So, Verk, thanks for hanging out with me this year, or this Sunday morning. It's a lot more fun up here when we got somebody to talk to.
No problem.
And we'll be back together on Thursday night in Lions. So for Matt Verkey, I'm Jim Sinicropi saying have a great week, everybody, and check us out this week, Tuesday and Thursday.